All right.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning.
Well, you started.
Well, you were telling me about.
Who are you?
Well, I'm Lauren
Oh,
Curry, and who are you?
Herb Magee.
Yeah. And you were telling me about your trip to Tennessee to marry Grandma.
Oh, the whole trip?
Yeah,
I'll be here all night.
that's okay.
No, what she wants to do is hear, I don't know how you put it, good luck story or my experiences. And I got a lot of them. But she wants to hear it, so anyway, she was, I mean, I'm not going to remember everything about the, going down to get married or anything, but yeah. Of course, I guess everybody knew Betty and all, but when I come out of the Army, while I was in the Army, my sister-in-law, Margaret, my brother's wife, wrote me a letter and said that she got a redhead picked out for me. And all my life, with kids talking about getting married or something, I said, well, if I ever get married, it's going to be a redhead. So my sister-in-law remembered that and sent me this letter about my redhead. So I said, well, take care of her till I get home. When I got home, we met and stayed together 54 years, and then she's in heaven. But there's 54 years, and all the trips we took to Tennessee, I got lots of stories, experiences of what happened, and feel lucky now I didn't get shot or killed in those 54 years down there. It was like going to another country, from New Jersey to Tennessee, and how different people lived. And we were poor, but Betty's family was poorer than we were, and they talk different, and everything about it is different. And so anyway.
Now, when you met Grandma, did she have an accent like they did in Tennessee?
No. She didn't have an accent. Well, she did to a certain extent, but Betty's father had been in the Army, and he, I guess, lost his accent, but Betty's mother, I couldn't understand her. She uses words that I never heard before. In fact, I'm getting off the start of the story, but I told Betty when we were there just a few hours, and I told her, don't ever leave me alone with your mother. And she didn't understand. I said, not that I don't like her, I said, but I can't understand her. So we went a couple of days and it worked out, but then one day Betty either was next door getting water out of the well or something. Anyway, she was going, and Betty's mother was on the front porch breaking beans, string beans, and I sat down and started helping her. And she's talking to me, and it's almost like another language, And she asked me if I'd do something for her, and I understood that. I said, yeah. She said, go get the blicky. Makes me laugh. I said, the blicky? She said, yeah, it's in the kitchen there. And I went in the kitchen and I didn't see any blicky. So finally, when I see Betty come back, and I said, I told you, never leave me alone with your mother. I said, and she said, what happened? I said, she wants me to go in the kitchen and get the blicky. She said, oh, that's the water pail. It's an old English word or something, meaning the water pail.
Wow.
And so anyway, when the guys down there working, and I was going to Tennessee to get married, and they said, bring back some moonshine, corn whiskey, you know. And I didn't know if I was going to get it or not, but anyway, when I went down there, I said to Betty's father, is there any chance of getting some? He said, oh, sure, he said. And I asked him, he said, yeah, I heard that he had a still. I said, well, how many stills have you had over your lifetime? He said, 7. But they all got raided, you know. And in fact, one brother, when they got raided one time, broke a jug. If you know you're going to get caught breaking, let it go on the ground. But there was enough caught in the bottom of the jug that they put him away in prison for a year. So anyway, he says to me, come on, we'll take a walk. So we'll down the hill and across the road, across the railroad, to the railroad tracks, walk down the railroad tracks for a long ways, and finally a little shack on the side of the railroad, and Betty's father put his hand up on my chest to stop me, and just in seconds a squeaky old door opened up, and a rifle came out, a big tall hillbilly hat came out, and it's the guy's head, and he looked down to see us, you know, and was, I guess, a complete stranger. I don't know if they give you a chance or shoot you right there, but and when he seen it was Betty's father, he said, oh, it's you, Wayne. And Betty's father, yeah, you got anything? And the guy said, come back tonight. So over the night, Betty's father went down there again and picked up about 12 bottles for me. But they're not big wine bottles. They're Carol bottles and all kinds of, any kind of bottles, you know. And so the next morning, even down there, you got to be very careful getting caught, you know. And so next morning, Betty's father came in where we were sleeping and said, come on, get up, I got something for you. So Betty knew right away, and we went outside, out the back porch, past the toilet, and past the pig pen, and up on the mountain, and he got down and he started looking through the leaves, and he found a bottle, right, like a large Carol bottle or something, and he offered to me, and I said, well, tomorrow he's going to be my father-in-law, be polite, you know, and I said, no, you first. He took the cap off, and I always heard he drank a lot, you know, and he put the bottle up there, and clunk, 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 he kept drinking. I thought he's going to drink it all, I wouldn't get any. So then he handed it to me, and I had just come back from Panama, and for 2 years, and been drinking shots and beers and all like that. And so I thought, well, it can't be that bad. So I took a pretty good little drink of it, and my nose stung, my eyes watered, and I couldn't breathe. I just actually cut my window.
Took your breath away.
Yeah, so I didn't know I was going to die or not, but after a little while, you know, I don't know, didn't look to see if he's laughing or not, but I mean, he knew what was going to happen, you know, and and after a short time, I could take another breath, you know, and then so then he took another drink, and then he offered it back to me, you know, and I said, yeah, I'm still alive, so I took another drink. The first one is awful, The second one, my tongue went to sleep. Like, you bite your tongue, you couldn't feel it. The second one, well, that makes the third drink nice. It's good. Right? Yeah. So, anyway, it wasn't a real big bottle, but before we went in for breakfast, we finished that bottle.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so anyway, Betty knew where I had been, you know. She didn't like it too much. But,
No, I can't imagine. Were you guys getting married that day?
no, the next day.
Oh, good thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I brought those bottles home. I mean, the trunk, and of course, my mother was with us. And if you ever want to have a fun time, take your mother on your honeymoon. So anyway, I hid them back there, tried, because I didn't want to get caught with them, you know. And she said one day that she's a little dizzy. I said to Betty, I gave Betty a poke. I said, I wonder if she found a bottle. Found the bottle or not.
Did your mom know the bottles were there?
No.
Of course not. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if she would have insisted for me to not to take them or what, you know.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was my first experience of moonshine in
In Tennessee. In Tennessee.
in Tennessee. Yeah. So, there's been other times. I mean, every time we went down there, said to Betty's father, you know, is there any place we could get some beer? Said, yeah. So we got in the car, went down this hillbilly road, you know, and came to another building at nighttime and everything, no lights, and I didn't know if it had windows in it or what, but it was a building, and we went around on the side and parked, and he says to me, go on in, he says, I got to take a pee. So I went to the front door, just a wooden door, no windows or anything, you know, and he didn't come right away, and you hear all the music and the banjos, and they helping and hollering and whistling, and they're having a good time in there, you know. So I said, well, I'll take a peek and open the door, and I opened the door, and you could hear a pin drop. Everybody in there looking at me. I didn't know whether to run or what to do, you know?
Right.
So I just, what could I do but stand there, you know? Hello. So then when he stepped up behind me, and they seen it's him, oh, Wayne, come on in, you know. So we went in, and all it was for a bar, it was 2 barrels with some planks across, and that's where you order what you want. And there's a door, and it was a separate little room, and they'd go back in there. I guess they had a refrigeration in there, you know, and bring out whatever you want. And anyway, after a while, I was looking around. He's telling me a lot of things, you know. He says, see that row of, what would you call them, tables and bunks or benches and all, where people take a drink, you know. And he said, see that first one there? And I said, yeah. He said, you see that hole in the back of it? I said, yeah. And he said, that's where a fellow was in that bench there, fooling with somebody else, a woman. The guy come in and seen him and shot him.
Oh my gosh. Wow. They didn't mess around.
I was ready to go home.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a rough place. Well, the whole place is rough, you know what I mean? They'd shoot you and ask questions later. One time, every time we go down there, we take Betty's mother out just to do shopping, you know. And this one time we went to, just Betty and I don't know who was taking care of the kids, and she goes through the store, and she didn't buy expensive things she didn't need. She bought like a new clothesline, new clothespins, and this and that, or new water pail and stuff. And of course, when we went down there, we didn't have any money, but I always had to make a big loan from the credit union at work, and it'd take a long time getting it paid off. So anyway, in those days, 1954, $60 for a grocery bill, or it was a lot, $60. But I mean, I didn't care. I would have spent more than that, And so then, anyway, on the way back, coming out over the mountains like that, coming down, that all of a sudden I'm driving, Betty's next to me, and her mother's next to her, and I hear, oh Lordy, don't stop, keep right on going. I says, to Betty, what's the matter? She says, just keep going. So after we went way down the road and didn't get killed, I said to Betty, what's going on back there? She said, did you see that old pickup truck backed up in the woods like that, and the two headlights, but they wasn't lit, And I said, yeah, I saw the truck. And she said, they were loading moonshine there to take to Knoxville, a whole truckload,
You don't want to be a part of that.
No, and she was serious. If we had stopped and they see New Jersey license plate, they would have shot us.
So crazy.
About that time, I got scared. When it's happening, I wasn't scared a bit,
Yeah.
I was too dumb to be scared. So then, after that, I thought, man, got by that one, So, yeah, it was a just total different world.
What was Grandmom's house like?
It wasn't a bad house. I mean, in fact, it's still there today. But, well, you see the picture of it in there.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where she grew up and everything? That was her home growing up?
No, that was a newer home. Where they grew up was just a shack. I mean, it was way over the river, and it was, I don't know. I didn't see any inside pictures of it, but outside it was just a shack. But this other one, it had a basement on the bottom where they could, under the porch, you open the door and they put all the potatoes and vegetables in there, and had steps going up to the front porch, and a porch all the way across, and on the end, it was a barber chair. Betty's father cut, well, my father did too, cut hair,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then there's a old car tire over there with flowers in it, and then there was old couches and chairs and all like that all the way across the front,
Wow.
And I guess almost everybody had a big front porch, And the night before we got married, Betty and I was sitting right here. It was, summertime, 6th of July, and the windows was open, and my mother and her mother are sleeping in the bed in here, together. And Betty and I was talking about what we got to do tomorrow, And my mother saying, Herb, let Betty go to bed. And her mother saying, leave them alone. They got a lot to talk about. So we finally couldn't take it anymore between the two of them. Betty said, let's go get in the car. So we went down and sat in the car. And the next day was a busy day, getting married, we had to go to Knoxville to get I don't know, it was a blood test or a marriage license in Knoxville. Then I had to come back to, I can't think of it. Starts with a C. Anyway, come back there to get the other one, either blood test or the license. And then I didn't really know any more than when I had to look at a paper map, you know, to get there. And Betty's father said he'd go with us. So my mother on her honeymoon, and my father-in-law showed me where to go to get married, to get things. And anyway, went to Knoxville, and things that I don't remember very good, you know that, but there's certain things, this wine got it stored up there and it's going to keep it forever.
Yeah.
We went into to eat in a restaurant, like, you know, in Knoxville, and before I never will forget what I got. I don't know, but no, I do know that, but what Betty got. But anyway, we got, I guess maybe we all got pork chops, and pork chops, mashed potatoes, everything else, like in dessert and all, 60 cents.
Wow. That's unreal.
Yeah, 60 cents.
Was that inexpensive even then?
Well, it was the going price, you know what I mean? 60 cents for pork chop dinner.
Wow.
So, anyway, went and got one or the other, and then went to Clinton, and got the other one, and then had to stop to pick up stuff in the store and shop, and then came on home, and or going out in the morning, we had to stop and imagine going to the minister and ask him if he'd marry us that afternoon, you know, and she had graduated high school with him, so he knew we were coming back, and so when we went back, we had to pick him up and get to the house, and Betty's mother had killed a couple of chickens, so we had chicken and the rest of it, you know, and Betty's sister, Loretta, got upset because Mom had never killed 2 chickens when we got married. Virgil and her got married,
Right.
you know, and she was all put out about it, you know.
It's a shame.
So, anyway, got married.
How old were Lydia and Beulah at that time?
Oh, I don't know, I think Beulah must have been about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old.
So just a little.
Yeah,
Wow. And then Grandma had a brother too, right?
yeah. He was older than her, Raymond.
Was he there for the wedding and all? Were they all there?
No, he went from Tennessee to New Jersey in the Army, and I went from New Jersey, went to Tennessee and got married. So Betty always said, or her mother says, no, Betty said to Betty's mother said to Betty that when you go to New Jersey, if you ever marry one of those Jersey boys, you make sure you bring him back here and get married on the front porch.
No. And she did.
Yeah, she said, yeah, we get married. We got problems. I said, what? She said, I promised my mother I'd get married on the front porch, you know. I said, I don't care when we get married, you know. And in those days, it took 24 driving hours to get down there.
Wow.
And I said, well, what's the difference, you know? And here I am expecting to get a hotel or a motel, you know? And she said, no, that won't work. what do you really want? I said, I'm not going to Tennessee to get married to you. And I said, well, what can we do? I think she had it already planned out. Ask your mother. You know? So went up to the farm and said, Mom, Betty and I decided to get married. And she said, oh, good. And I said, the only thing, Betty won't drive down there. It's 24 driving hours. We'll have to stop overnight. And she said, well, and I said, well, she won't go unless you go. She went right in, packed her suitcase, and off we went. And there's a couple funny things about that somebody might want to remember. Well, the one thing, you heard me about Freeze during her screaming, right? Yeah.
That's a good one.
You want to put that on there?
Sure.
Yeah. On the way home, we stopped in well, first going in there, Betty knew that in Knoxville there was hotels and all like that, and it was 50 more miles to Betty's mother's and father's house, and it was dark and the roads were so bad, you know, and she talked me into, we'll have to stay overnight there, you know. Well, she was 65 years old, and she...
Your mother?
Yeah, and she signed us in, and there are two of us there have even been in a hotel, you know what I mean? And I don't know if she has even, but anyway, she says she wants a room for overnight for her son and daughter-in-law. It bothers her so much because we wasn't married.
Yeah.
She told the girl that we were married, you know. And so anyway, they, well then, this is only one big bed, you know, and of course Mom didn't even know what was going to do, but they said, well, we'll bring a single bed in, you know. So they put a single bed in, and we went up there and got ready for bed, and I knew what was going on, so I went over to the double bed and I started pulling the blankets down. I said, Herb? I said, what? She said, what are you doing? I said, going to bed. Not in that bed. There's yours over there. So anyway, we got through that one, and when coming home, we stopped in a motel, and there was a front door, and then there was a little living room, and then there was a bedroom and a bathroom and another bedroom in the back, you know. So Mom, she was exhausted, so she went to go in bed. So she wasn't used to showers, but she went in, she washed up, you know, and she went to bed, you know. And Betty and I talked, and finally said, well, we better go to bed too. So then we both got ready, and she got in the bathtub, and she couldn't turn the knob for the faucet, you know. And I said, well, I'm coming in there anyway. So I got in behind her, and I reached around her like that, and I turned the water, and I realized it's going to come out ice cold, you know. And here the water come out ice cold. I'm behind her. She couldn't knock me down to get away. She couldn't do anything but scream. So she's screaming, hollering. I said, be quiet, be quiet. But I mean, cold water coming on you like that, it's hard to be quiet. And my mother got up out of bed, came to the bathroom door, was banging on the door. Herb, you leave Betty alone. Leave Betty alone. So Betty says, it's all right, I'm all right. She said, was just cold water, you know. So, yeah, it was some trip.
So, how did you ask her to marry you?
It wasn't down on my knees or anything.
No?
It was just going together every night. We was together all the time, you know. And in fact, my brother and sister-in-law Margaret said to me that was I was dating, and she worked in a Newberry store, and I was there every waking moment, you know, picking her up, going somewhere, and kind of Margaret thought that it was too much too soon, you know what I mean, and that I ought to date other girls, you know, and I took it as a joke for a while, but then they found out they were serious, you know. So you know your mother or your grandmother, that she got a word over the store, a rumor and all that Margaret, she worked there too, you know. Margaret wants Herb to date other people, other women or girls before we get too serious, you know what I mean? Well, we were already serious, but so Betty found out about it, and she didn't care. I mean, just get kind of Margaret off her back, you know what I mean, my back, and so there was, I don't know how many good-looking girls there too, you know. So I didn't mind taking them out. Just one there, Betty. There was another Betty. Betty. She was an little Irish girl. I can't think of her name, but she was beautiful. Only thing, she needed her teeth fixed, you know. And O'Brien, that's what Betty O'Brien, and I asked her if she would like to go out, you know, and she said yeah. We went out, and then a couple more, and one weekend I asked one of the girls, and she says, yeah, she said, how about can so and so go? Wound up with 4 of them. And I knew them all pretty good. So we went up to Delaware Water Gap and spent the day up there and went out to eat and all like that. And this one, I forget her name, but wound up, I didn't know it, but she was married.
Oh dear.
And she got real friendly, you know. She sat next to me, she's rubbing my leg and everything else, you know. So then I got an idea of what she wanted, you know, and she said, take them home first, you know. So when it came, took them home like that, you know, and then was going to her house where she lived, you know, and I guess I didn't know she was married, you know, but then she got thinking about it, and she didn't want to go home, you know, 'cause
She remembered she was married.
yeah. So anyway, little by little, she says, maybe we better not. She says, no, maybe some other time or something, you know. So that was the end of that one.
What made you decide or think that Grandma was the one now? Like,
Betty,
yeah.
just looking at her. Yeah, I do. Since I seen her.
So after you guys got married, where did you come home to? What was that like?
Oh, not much. And how she ever accepted it, I don't know. But it was a building that Eleanor and Roy, you know who they are, had started.
Tell me who they are, though.
Oh, that camera don't know?
That camera don't know.
They my sister Eleanor and brother-in-law Roy lived and had, I don't know, at that time, 2 kids, I guess, and they wanted to build a house, and they realized they didn't have any money, so my father loaned them a little bit of money and helped them and built a 2-car garage. It was 20 feet, but 20 feet that way and 24 this way. And then as they're building it, they went upstairs, and instead of just putting the roof on, Daddy said, well, bring the cinder block up 3 more blocks and then put the roof on, and there'll be more room upstairs, you know. So it wasn't finished. I mean, in fact, the front of it was like this 20 feet by 24, and only half of it here had a floor in it. This other half over here was still dirt, and no electric, no water, and didn't have anything, you know. But Eleanor and Roy, because they were renting and all, and when that got that part done, they moved in there, and I don't know. I think Richie and Rogers. I don't think Dolores was born yet, but one Christmas Eve, I went out with a friend of mine, and he says, well, that was even before the Army. This is when I don't know how old I was, but anyway, him and I palled around a lot, you know, and his grandparents, you know, was Polish people, and they had a house full of people, and they're having a New Year's Eve party, you know. So Bob, he says, you know, he says, when it all gets settled in the front there, he says, I'm going to go in the door here and be quiet. He said, because I'm going to crawl on my hands and knees to that door over there, and there's bottles over there, you know. So he crawled like that, hoping he didn't get caught. He grabbed a bottle and he came back out. And from there to where Eleanor and Roy was living, where I was staying with them, you know, and it was, almost a half a mile. So it didn't take long for 2 not little kids, but 2 young kids to get drunk, you know. First time I ever really got drunk, you know. And so then walking home, he says, I told him goodbye, you know, I was going to walk home, you know. And he says, you know, Herb, he said, I don't think you want to walk down those railroad tracks like that. Just suppose a train came and ran you over. He said, I better walk you home. So he walked me home, and I used the same excuse to walk him home, and we'd walk back and forth for, seemed like hours to me, you know. So finally, we were down there by Eleanor Roy, and I said, I think you better go home. Bob. See, now that name just went. Anyway, I said, I'm tired. So I went up, went in there. The door was locked, and of course I had a key, and the door was right here. You know, it was only a half a room, and I opened the door, and somebody took the baby's playpen and pushed it over there. And when I took a step, I fell right over in the playpen. So made an awful lot of noise, you know, and Roy got up and, Herb, what are you doing down there? I said, I don't know. I just, somebody put the playpen here and I didn't know it was here, you know. So anyway, that was my first experience with that. And so then later.
Now, how much older was Eleanor than you?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then when we were going to get married, my father says, Herb, all that he had done to help Roy and Eleanor amounted to $400. And Eleanor and Roy had $400 in it, just material, you know, no labor. And
So they had moved out of it at this point?
yeah, they had moved out and he got a apartment in New Brunswick, or they moved around a lot, you know. So anyway, it was empty, you know, and I showed it to Betty, and you know, the house down in Tennessee was better than that, you know what I mean? But she said, I told her, I said, my father and Roy and Eleanor said that we could live here, you know, and sometimes I wish she said no, you know, we would have got something, you know, but she thought it was great, you know, and to cook on it, all we had is a little wood stove. You had to make a wood fire. You wanted a cup of coffee, you know, and little by little we moved in, and like I say, no electric or anything, and no water, but yeah. I had a bed, that's all we needed, a bed.
So you ended up getting electric and water, I'm assuming, though?
In time, the electric, everything was wrong. The electric, where we lived, it was a piece of property like this, and there was a road out here. Well, it wasn't a road, it was just a field there, but the road stopped down here, and the houses stopped down there. And up here was a field. Later on, they put a road up there. But where we lived, there was not any road. It wasn't a road there. It was just the house we lived in, and the neighbor, Mrs. Swab, and then from here out to the road, the main road, is just a little lane, you know. And so there's no place to bring the electric, but where we wanted the electric cord up there, it was nothing there, just a field. So finally, and I don't know how long it took, but they brought the electric up, and we got electric, you know. I think it's like going to heaven for Betty.
How long did that take, like, before?
I don't know. It had to be weeks, you know, weeks and weeks.
Wow.
And so then she got the electric in, and all we had is, well, there wasn't any electric in it. I had like one plug that I remember, you know, but to her, she could get a hot plate to cook on and like that, you know. And I don't know how she did it. I mean, but
How'd she do laundry and stuff?
a laundromat.
Wow.
And then there was a toilet. Of course, there's no water, so you had to carry water in army cans from Eleanor Roy's. Well, they were living over the post office that time, and we'd go up there and I'd get water in the army cans, you know, and carry it to put in the back to flush the toilet, you know.
Wow.
And so anyway, little by little, I put a floor in this other half, you know, and that was our kitchen. And I did the best I could with the money we had, you know.
Yeah.
And then in the kitchen, there was a door there that went into the other half of the house, and there's a door here went outside, and I put kitchen cabinets across here, and put a double sink in there. There's pictures here somewhere of it, and then to get upstairs, there's just an opening up there, and I didn't build the steps themselves. I built a kit, and you put a kit together, you know, and glue them together. Put up stairs going upstairs, and then we moved up there, you know. And,
Did you guys brought all 3 kids home to that house?
Yeah.
Is the house still there?
Yeah, but it's bigger. You wouldn't recognize it.
That's
I mean,
neat.
pictures here, you'd recognize it. And it's one front door, and somehow I managed to be able to pick her up and carry her in.
So when did you guys move to the other house?
If she was here, I'd ask her, or she'd be answering questions. But I don't know how many years. Well, give you an idea. Ask Kathy right now. I think Kathy was 6 or 7
Wow.
when we moved up there, and it was a brand new house, and
That must have been a pretty big deal.
good deal,
A big deal.
big deal, big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me even, I mean, I had 2 toilets. And to move in there, I remember the first night laying down in bed and talking to her, you know, and I said, "Do you feel like you're in a motel?" He said, "Yeah." It didn't even feel like it was our house, you
Yeah.
know? So, anyway, it's, she put up with a lot. And so then we finally got Roy and Eleanor paid off the 400. And then by saving and saving, we finally got the $400 from my father that he had invested for material. Then we went to pay him, he wouldn't take it.
That's nice.
So then there was a lot behind it. There was two lots. The one where the house was, then behind it, from this road to that road, there's another lot in there the same size. And I thought that'd be nice to get that and clear it off, you know, it was all primers and grown up and all. We asked Mrs. Swab next door if she would sell it to us. She said, "Do you have a deed for that front lot yet?" And I said, "No, I don't have a deed." She said, "When you get a deed showing that you own it and all like that, you know," and she said, "then I'll sell you the back lot." So I forget what she had paid Roy and Eleanor, or Eleanor and Roy had paid her some ridiculous price, $300 or something like that, you know. So we went to the lawyers, and she told the lawyer what she wanted or what we wanted, and I had already asked her, and she said, "Well, Roy and Eleanor paid me, I think it was $300, which was a steal. I mean, like giving it away."
Right.
And she said, "That's what I'll charge you."
Wow.
We paid her the $300, you know. But anyway, it was Kathy was 7. You can ask her at 7, and Ronnie and Debbie had to have time to get in there. So I don't know how many years that would make.
Yeah.
We lived there, you know, but had a lot of good times in there.
Well, it had to at least been, I'm not sure how much older Ronnie is than Mom, but it's at least, what, 5 years at least?
Oh,
So you guys were probably there,
I don't think that.
no?
But we had them bang, bang, bang. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood and everything growing up.
Oh, well, I didn't think too much of it. I mean, but now, as I get older, I've been blessed all my life. Didn't know it. I mean, had to, for me, poor, but the best poor mother and father in the world. And Mom with 7 of us kids, Daddy working, done everything for money, you know what I mean? And had 6 older brothers and sisters that helped take care of me, and had all 7 of us. I'm the only one that didn't get any brain.
I don't believe that. So, go through them by age and names. So the oldest, Kenneth?
Kenneth, yeah. Yeah, Kenneth was born not in the house we lived in then, but in a different house. And he was a good brother. I mean, like when I came along and Kenneth and Margaret got married, I thought it was better than what we had, you know, where they was written, you know. I said, can I come live with you guys? Yeah, come on. So
And how old were you?
when they got married, I don't know. It's I had to be probably a teenager.
Like 13, young teenager?
Oh, no, I was younger than that. I was 13 when Judy was born, and Margaret and Kenneth was always looking through Sears catalog, you know, and I didn't know what they were buying, but they, you know, bought this, bought that, you know, like that, and they, I don't know if they told me or I just, my head thought, because then they're looking at the baby pictures, you know, and like that, and discussing this one, that one. I thought they were buying a baby, you know. Really, I mean, I was dumb. And so then what they were doing, somebody gave them an old crib, and they wanted to buy a crib mattress. And it's embarrassing to tell it.
I love this story.
The postmaster knew everything. Open people's mail and all kinds of things, you know, and everybody knew it. And went to the post office one day and he says, go home and tell your brother Kenneth is a package here for him. Old dummy. I knew it was Judy. Ran home, told Kenneth, and we went to pick it up, and I said, what are we getting? He said, a crib mattress. I was afraid, or too embarrassed to tell him I thought we was picking up Judy. But then when Margaret, they had an old house, and they had a hand pump to get the water, which would be another story, getting that pipe in for that water anyway, you know, old-fashioned hand pumps, you know, and Margaret was, like I say, I lived with them all, and she's pumping, and I don't know how many days before Judy was born, and I'm looking at her and kept looking, and I must have been over something tight, you know, how big they are, you know. And I couldn't figure it out. I mean, what happened to her, you know? I said, boy, Margaret, you are really getting fat.
Did you tell her that?
Yeah. so little by little, over the years after that, she started telling me. Mom never told us anything. It was just don't touch a girl because you'll die.
You'll die.
Yeah. I mean, she had me scared to death. So Anyway, I don't know how many days later, Margaret had Judy right here at the house. And they were making something, I never did figure it out. It must have been something to put down for Margaret to have the baby to absorb the moisture of liquid or something, you know. So I remember it was paper with, I don't know, it was like pads, like, you know, they were making. And anyway, she had Judy there, and over the years, Margaret taught me what my mother should have taught me, you know.
Now, had you seen animals give birth and stuff? Like, I imagine that was commonplace then, right? Like, you guys had rabbits and stuff like that, so didn't you think...
Yeah, I have rabbits, but I didn't even know that. I was so dumb. Daddy had rabbit cages about a little bigger than this table here, and he stacked them up on top of one another and keep the rabbits in each one, you know what I mean? And I didn't know what he was doing, but he went and made them, you know. And he'd take this one and put it with that one, you know, and there again.
Didn't catch on to what was happening.
I didn't know what they were doing.
Did you guys eat a lot of rabbit?
Oh yeah. So then later on, I said, I think I put that one over with this one, but I didn't know what I was doing. I put two males together.
No.
And I thought they were going to kill each other, and fought and fought and fought, you know.
Yeah.
And finally, I got a hold of one of them and put it back up there, you know. But then after a while, I got a little bit smart and I realized what they're doing, you know. So I used to put them in there just to watch them. Yeah. But, yeah, Margaret, she was like a mother to me, you know.
So after Kenneth, there was Melvin?
Melvin. Yeah, Melvin was, I don't know how much younger, but he was like a mama's boy more, you know. Well, I was too. I mean, when Ma went away to church with a coconut cake, banana coconut cake, you know, or something like that, you know, and of course, Mom had to leave me home, and it was Irma and Edith to take care of me, you know what I mean? And I was bad. Nasty to him, you know, and leave me alone, you know. And when Ma came home, everything was okay again, you know. But one time, Irma got me so mad, and I threw a knife at her. You know, a kitchen knife.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Leave me alone. Do this. Ma says, maybe have your pajamas on or something, you know. No, not till Ma comes home, you know. And I was just a brat. So, anyway, I see that knife, and I threw it. It didn't stick in her, but it made a mark on her.
Oh my gosh.
And it fell down, you know. And,
Did you feel bad?
huh?
Did you even feel bad?
Yeah, when Ma got home. But she didn't beat me up or kill me. But yeah, my mother and I always got along good.
So what about you and Melvin?
Huh?
You and Mel?
What?
Did you get along well?
Oh,
Uncle Mel?
oh, Melvin and I got along. In fact, Kenneth and I, so I say, I've been blessed. Kenneth used to take me places with him, going out wherever he was going. And one thing, he loved to sew my eyebrows off, you know, and big flashy eyebrows. And one place we went and I was playing some kind of game and they're all in the kitchen eating, you know, and I said, Herb, come here. I went in and he says, show me your eyelashes, eyelashes, you know. And you're blinking, you know. They were extra long, you know. But he'd say, go and take a walk with me, you know. It's Uncle Lynn and Aunt Sadie lived up on the other end of town.
Was that your mom's sister or your dad's family, or?
My father's brother and his wife.
Okay.
And we'd walk up there and just to see him, you know, and on the way home, I'd get tired, you know. He said, you tired? I said, yeah. He'd carry me.
Aww.
So then came Melvin and Irma. And Irma, I remember one time Daddy went up to the uptown by, well, he used to, well, not when us kids would have, well, I shouldn't say that, because when I got a little bit older, he wanted to go in for a beer, he'd take me in, and it was a different world then. I mean, everything was different. And they had a big birch beer like that, and Daddy had a beer and maybe two of them, and I get a big birch beer. And but one time he had took Irma with him, and she wanted an ice cream, and we always wanted ice cream. And she got an ice cream. He got an ice cream for her, and he said, "No, you got to drink that up, or eat that right now, because when you get home, Herb will take it from you, you know." And no, he won't. No, your finger.
I was pushing the wrong button.
No. The right one always helps.
It does.
Well, back again.
So we were saying how your dad had taken Irma and gotten her ice cream and told her to eat it before she got home, or else you would eat it.
Right, and she didn't believe it. They pulled in the driveway, and it must have been a double-decker. It was a real big one. And as soon as she come in the house and I seen it, I grabbed it away from her.
And nobody beat you?
No, that's the thing. You talk about being blessed. Here I just stole somebody's ice cream instead of getting hollered at. I went in the corner where the dining room where they go down cellar, and I got in the corner, I'm licking it, and it's run all down my arm and everything. And Irma, I don't remember if she cried or what she did, but Ma come over with a plate and says, "Come on, sweetheart, let's lay it on a plate so it's melting on your arm.
Oh my goodness.
Let's put it on a plate, you know." And I said, no, and I wouldn't give her to her, you know.
So you were terrible.
Yeah. And instead of whacking my backside or something. And I stood there and ate that ice cream and run all down my arm and on the floor and everything. And but she learned a lesson, because next time she got an ice cream, she wouldn't bring it home.
I bet not.
Yeah.
Did you ever get spanked?
Mom, she, nowadays she'd be in jail. My father never spanked me, never. And my mom, if I did something she didn't like, she'd go get a sharp knife and give it to you. And you have to go out to the maple tree, and all these sprouts are coming up, you know, and cut your own switch. Well, cut it about high, you know, like 5 foot long, you know. And then one of my buddies says, we're talking about it, you know. And he said, don't you know what to do? And I said, no, what? They said, when you cut the switch to take it into her, to get a spanking, just start talking, cut a little cut in the switch itself, you know. And you cut it all the way down like that, and then when she hits you, it's just all flimsy, you know, and it won't hurt as much. So, but
Did it work?
Yeah, oh yeah. But what really worked, she hit them all over the house. And she wanted one, she just looked and grabbed one and get you, you know. And she always grabbed you by your ankle and hit you most of the time with short legs, you know, short pants, and hit you on the legs, you know.
Woo.
And I'd go around, because she's getting old then, you know, and I'd go around the biggest circles I could make like that. And I found out that one time I was hollering, and she hit me, she said, "Be quiet, Mrs. Green will hear you." And Mrs. Green was the neighbor over there, and she didn't want Mrs. Green to know that I was getting beat, you know. So when I found that out, I'd holler louder. And help, 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 help. Be quiet, Mrs. Green will hear you. So, and Merlin, I never told her, and she wouldn't even run around in circles. She just stay there and take a beating, you know. And when we moved down here, Merlin and I was talking together one night, you know, and she's talking about wallowing her switches and everything, you know. And if she wanted us to go to bed, and we were giving her a hard time, she'd take one of the switches and start hitting her and say, "Get up those golden steps," you know. Get up those golden steps. And so get up there real fast, you know. But anyway, I said, "Well, it's your fault you got beat so much." She said, "What are you talking about?" Because Merlin didn't get hit very often, but she was the longest girl, and you know, and so anyway, I told her, I said, "Don't you remember, if you're in the kitchen and she's hitting you and you're trying to get away from her, she's got you by your wrist, you know, and holler and yell and scream, and she said, 'Be quiet, Mrs. Green will hear you.' Well, when she says that, you gotta just holler louder, and then she'll stop." So Merlin says, "Why didn't you tell me then?" I said, "I don't know." But anyway.
So did you ever live with Irma?
No, quick story on Irma is that when Irma and her butler, he worked for, I forget the name of the jewelry company, you know, and he made good money, but he worked his way up through the ranks, and when they got married, they came to Spotswood, and they lived on top of the post office. There was an apartment up there. It was nothing fancy, and he'd get up, get dressed with a white shirt, and I don't think he owned but two of them, and every day it seemed like Irma was washing the white shirt, and then he'd go up to the train station, take a train up to, I don't know where it was now, up to the cities, you know, and he worked for, well, maybe if they turned their shirt back on, it'd be a little better, but anyway, he worked his way up to a boss. He was going to work for a boss, you know, and he made a lot of money. He made good money, and when they lived up in Spotswood there, I mean, they didn't have anything. So then over the years, they were saving their money, and when they finally found a house in Union, you know, up in the cities there, and it was a fairly nice house, and he was talking about moving, and And I said, well, of course he's going to pay for it. Rent a truck. And I'll get the truck and I'll get Jensen, well, all the guys, you know, about 6 guys. And I'll bring the truck up there and, well, from Spotswood, we loaded it and drove it up to Union and packed it in the driveway and unloaded it in their new house. And of course the kids, I'm sure he must have paid, give them something, you know, and paid for the truck and the gas, everything else, you know. And but then as they lived up there, we used to go up to see them, but it was they were a little bit different than, I mean, they were like a class, not nice to say, but the only way I could say, a class higher than us, you know what I mean? And
A little fancier.
huh?
A little fancier?
Yeah. And
So you guys didn't spend as much time with them then, like when Mom and them were growing up?
with Herb and her,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we'd go up there, but come out later on, they finally, Irwin says, it'd be nice if Betty called and found out if it's all right to come up there, you know? And I was thinking, you know, it was so unusual for us to get up in that category or step higher that they wanted to know we're coming, you know? And well, anyway, Herb Butler was a good guy. And life of the party, had a party, and of course, all together. One time, Melvin, it was Melvin's birthday, I don't know what age, and it was all planned. Johnny, that's Edith's son, Johnny, took Melvin to church and went with him, and was kind of stoling things, not to get home like quick, and everyone went up to Edith and John's there up to the farm, and everybody was doing something, and Edith and John had just got a new linoleum for one of their rooms, you know, and the thing it came on was cardboard about this round and, you know, 10 foot long or something like that. And then when my job was to watch out to the mailbox and let everybody know when they're coming in, Melvin and Johnny, you know, and I watch, I see them pulling in, and here they come, and everybody's doing their last second thing, and Herb Butler's lining everybody up, you know, you stay here, you're on, now we're going to sing happy birthday. So when Melvin, they come up, Melvin got out of the car, and Herb Butler's going, you know, like a band leader, orchestra leader, you know, and he's going like that, and he thought about, they all have a little stick, you know what I mean? And he's looking for something to go like this, you know. The only thing you can find is that 10-foot piece of cardboard, you know. Here he is with that. He would hit those lights like that, and he's lead the band, you know.
That's great.
Yeah, Herb Butler wound up being a good guy, but the thing about it, for two, I don't know how to say it, groups of people that are different, when they merge like that, it's funny things happen, like, you know what I mean? For a while there, till I got a little older and I understood them more, but I know one time we went camping somewhere, and probably Herb Butler's never been in a camp situation in his life, you know. Anyway, he went into the toilet, outside toilet, and there's no light or anything like that, and somebody had crapped on the seat.
Oh.
And he didn't know it, and he sat in it.
Oh. That's terrible.
But his mother now, she was, I guess they were German, I think, and she was a big woman, and she came up and getting right back to Betty again. Everybody loved Betty. I mean, here's a woman that nobody seemed to like a lot, you know what I mean? And Herb was like a mama's boy too, you know. And when after she met Betty, she always says, you know, when you come up, and then she always wanted Irma to take us over to see her,
Aww.
where she lived, you know. And so then, but I didn't like her until then. When she started liking Betty, I started liking her because see, Herb would bring her down to our house, and here she had probably a bathroom and bedroom since she's born, you know, all her life, you know, and she came to our house, and all it was this outside toilet was far away from the house, you know, and I remember the only time we had toilet paper was when
This was when you were a kid.
huh?
When you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant she came down to your house when Mom and you were married.
Huh?
No, when he was a kid.
No, when I was a kid, and you know, because all we had is newspaper, and you just rip pieces off like that, and you wrinkle them all up to make them softer, you know, and that's what we wiped on. And but when her butler's mother was coming, we had to go get some toilet paper, make sure we had toilet paper in the house, you know, and then she was old in those days, I mean, getting there, and she came in the house, come up steps to a porch, and then from the porch you had to step up about that far to get into the dining room to get in the house, you know, and she almost fell or something, you know, big to do about that, you know, and I don't know where I heard it, but through the grapevine or something, I heard that her butler's mother says that we live like pigs, and
But you didn't like her after that.
didn't like her after that until she liked Betty, and then she liked me then, you know. So, but yeah, but then when she got real old, Irma and Herb gave their bedroom up and slept in the spare bedroom, so Mrs. Butler could sleep in their bed, and the way things happened, Irma used to talk to her, you know, and I don't know if she had Alzheimer's or not, but anyway, one day she'd be different than another day, you know, and she's telling, saying to Irma about her who was taking care of her, you know what I mean, about how good she is, and she didn't like Irma, you know. Maybe she did, but she didn't show it. And she's saying about on a good day about how nice Irma is and how good you take care of me and all like that. And then she wound up with saying, but that Irma, my daughter-in-law, she's a real witch.
That's great. So, after Irma, who was next? Edith or Eleanor?
Edith. And Edith was well, that's kind of a long story. Edith was a good sister to me. She worked in New Brunswick, I forget the name of the place, the factory, and she had a little money, so the two best Christmases I ever had in my life was one was I won a bicycle, and you know, kids, they hear things they shouldn't hear, but I heard that Edith bought a bike for me for Christmas, and it's up in Jake Tinkle's attic. Well, Jake Tinkle was a guy that he went somewhere and he bought produce, and he took it home in his barn, and like load of beets, and then he'd take the beets and wash them up and bunch them up, and then when he got a load of something like that, Daddy, my father had a two-wheel cart, the wheels about that high, and Jake would ask me if I'd sell them for him. So he'd have all these fresh vegetables there, and I'd go uptown and just all over selling these vegetables. So I got rid of them and come back and give him the money. And of course, he paid me something for them, and I was all over. I mean, now, like across the street, she's going to have me arrested. She caught me in her property, you know what I mean? But when I was a kid, I went through everybody's yard, you know what I mean? That's just the way life was. Like with Jake, I stopped and talked to him, and Green's next door, Mr. and Mrs. Green, and I don't know how many times a day I knock on the door and say, hey, come in, you know, and I go in, and I'd be there maybe a long time, and then sometimes not so long, but Mr. Green, he smoked a pipe, and he'd get it filled, you know, and pack it up and get a match and light that pipe, you know, and it smelled so good, you know, and he was, like I say, everybody was nice to me, but then be there a couple of minutes and think about something else I wanted to do. And, well, I'll see you, bye, see you later. Sometimes I must have went 6 or 8 times to the house, you know, instead of telling me stay home for a while, you know. And then when I went there around supper time, I stayed there a little extra long, you know, knowing they're going to invite me for supper, you know. And they lived on
Edith?
Huh?
Edith?
No,
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Green next door. So anyway, I think they lived on baked beans and hot dogs. And it seems like all they ever ate, you know. But no, with Edith, she also, getting back to this story, and I heard that my bicycle for Christmas in Jake Dinkle's attic up there, and there was steps going up to the attic, and I still don't know what was up there, you know. So I got always talking to Jake, and I says, Jake, what's up in your attic? He said, I don't know. And I said, never been up there? No, he says. They tell me there's a flying Satan up there. I said, flying Satan? He said, yeah, that's what they tell me. He says, I'm not taking any chance going up there. So I said, oh, and then I said, well, can I go look? Sure, go ahead. He said, so he let me go up about 4 or 5 steps like that. And that's when he told me, just watch out for the flying Satan. And I came down 4 or 5 steps, and then I got the story about it, you know. That's all I needed to know. I never received it like until Christmas. And then the other Christmas, I wanted a wagon with racks on the side and 2 wheels on the back of it. Never seen one after that, you know, only one I ever seen. But it was a really nice, expensive wagon, and she bought that for me another year, you know. So, I mean, otherwise, you know, when we were kids, if it wasn't for somebody like Edith or somebody buying something big, we didn't get hardly anything, you know. And so anyway, she was good to me too, and until I guess you heard about up to the farm.
No, but we'll leave that one off the tape. So then, after Edith, Eleanor?
Eleanor was I guess it must be a medical term for her. I don't know what it is, but she was always doing something, always getting in trouble, always, you know, she just too much energy, like, you know. We all go to bed, and instead of going to bed, she'd be sitting on the top step up the stairs, looking out the window, you know. And I always had a bike, and when I come home, instead of putting it away somewhere, I just get off of it and let it roll up into the yard, you know, and it'll be there. And she's up there a lot of nights, and Mom said, Eleanor, Anna, she called her Anna, something about one of their relations, they called Anna, and I don't know what was wrong with her, but it wasn't, I don't think it meant anything good. And she'd say, Anna, go to bed, Anna, go to bed, you know. Well, one night, Marilyn saw somebody come in the yard, and it was somebody to steal my bike. And Eleanor's watching, you know. So when he got on the bike, Eleanor hollered, that's my brother's bike, leave it alone. So the guy stopped, pushed it back in the yard, you know. But, yeah, Eleanor, she went to be a nurse, and never, I don't think she ever graduated as a nurse, you know, but she did everything for everything for everybody. She wouldn't get home from school until late, and Mom would say, where you been, where you been? She said, well, Mrs. Kennedy stopped me. She wanted me to do this and do that, and so-and-so stopped her, you know, and she's always helping somebody, like, you know. And Mrs. Kennedy was president of the principal of the school at one time, you know, way back years ago. And she lived in a house alone, and she watched for me all the time. And when she'd get me and she said she wants me to do some work for her, and I said okay. And she paid me, you know, just pennies, you know. But she 2 jobs I didn't like. One, cutting kindling wood was all right, but then she had a coal bin. A coal bin is a thing about as big as that couch there, and had sides up high. And when you got the coal from a window truck, we put a chute down there, and you shovel it in that chute, and the coal would go in the coal bin. Well, when they fill up the coal bin, and then after about middle of winter or something, all the coal in the front would be burned up, and you had to go all the way in the back there to get any coal. So Mrs. Kennedy would say she wanted a coal bin shoveled from the back up to near the front like that, you know. Well, you get one of those coal bins all closed up like that, and shoveling, and then dusting on, you look black as can be when you come out, you know. And either stay dirty all day or go home and have to wash, you know. And then another job I hated was old people, and, well, nobody years ago used to clean like they do now. Because first, nobody had a vacuum cleaner, you know, and you go, well, some days, some people today, I guess, look under their bed, you see a lot of dust, but it just accumulated, and the dust would be that thick under there, you know, and she'd give you either a little hand broom or something like that, and then she'd give you a rag and say, wipe it up, you know, wipe it up. Hey, you look like a big dust ball, you know, when you're finished. And I didn't like that job either, but anyway, after Eleanor, and then I came, and Ma used to tell a story about Willard Clark was the man owns a store uptown, and he come, I don't know, once a week or twice a week, and he'd sit in that chair, and this skinny guy, he'd throw that leg over like that, and he'd take his pad and pencil, and Ma would tell him what she needed. He'd write it down, and then he went to see all his customers, and he'd go home and make up boxes, and in the afternoon he'd deliver them. And the only thing really saved us, I guess, from losing the house, even when I was a kid, that Willard Clark, I know one time, this is way back when I was a kid, well, they take a yellow piece of paper with the balance, how much you owe, and in the pantry, Ma would stick it over a nail. And I remember one time, this is when I was a kid, if I remember right, it's like $300 they owed. And without that, then they would have made it, you know.
Yeah.
And
Like a credit, basically.
yeah, and then why Ma's trying to remember what she needs and tell Willard, and I say, don't forget the candy, don't forget the candy, you know. After you did that, said that enough, she said, oh, give him 3 cents worth of candy, you know. So, but anyway, you know, with older sisters and brothers like that, they treated me good too, you know. But,
What about Marilyn?
she was a mama's girl. Like, they're all always together, you know what I mean, like that. And I was, I got along with her pretty good, like, but if she only knew. After school, when strawberries was out, we'd go strawberry picking, you know, almost every day, and we'd go pick strawberries and come home, take this green part off and wash them and put them in a bowl and add milk. If it was without refrigerator or anything, it had some milk, put a little milk and sugar on them, eat them, you know, and in front, across the street, wasn't too many, but behind the house, over the railroad tracks, there's a big field of them, you know, and where they had dug a ditch one time, and piled the dirt up high. I guess the sun got in there better, and they're always bigger and better ones was there, you know. So she'd follow me, and I'd say, get away from me, get away from me. And she said, but I want some strawberries. I said, over there, and I show her where to go pick, you know. She'd get the little tiny ones, you know, and you're not getting the big ones. And one day she said, we're eating them, she said, how come all your strawberries are big and mine are so small? I said, because that's the ones you're picking. So, but then well, everything, we always, and then every place I wanted to go, I had to ask Ma, and I wanted wherever it was, and I said, can I go? And Merle would just shut her mouth and be all right. Ma would say okay, but Merle kept saying, I want to go too, I want to go too, and Ma would say, all right, you could go if you take your sister. I thought, I read fool when I want a rattlesnake, you know. And so she'd get on the bike, and sometimes it was far away and a long ride here where I was going. And she's some pictures around here somewhere, but real pretty girl. She had blonde hair and real long, you know, and how you know, so you riding, I've got a bike and the handlebars are here and the seat here, and then from the steer, the front to the, by the seat, there's a bar there, and you had to sit, she had to sit on that bar, you know. So she's really riding sideways. She's sitting this way, we're going that way, and she's holding the handlebars like that, and she'd raise her head up, and just to aggravate her, because she didn't want to go with me, I'd take her head and I'd push it down like this. She's sitting like this with her head like that. And just watching for her to raise up a little bit, and she did. I'd push her head down again. Don't you pick that head up, you know. And I used to excuse her hair would blow in my face, you know. And next time I want to go somewhere, she'd want to go too, you know. But we got along, you know, because she didn't know what was going on half the time, but she,
What about like when you guys would get candy bars?
oh, yeah. See, you know these stories. We get 3 candy bars for a dime. And where Mom, every Thursday, Daddy get paid, and then $25 check after working for a whole week, you know. And Mom and Daddy would go to the bank and cash the $25 check, you know.
And that was for being a night watchman?
Yeah. And then my father would give my mother, not all the money, but most of the money.
And that was at National Ed too?
No, my father just painting wallpaper, did everything. Yeah, but
No, but where was he a night watchman at?
in an empty factory, or in the town we lived in, it used to be a leather factory, and they closed up, and it was empty. But for insurances, they had to have watchmen there all the time, and they go around with a clock on a strap and go all through this whole factory, punching these clocks that got paper in there, and it tells what time that clock got punched, you know. And I don't know how many times he'd have to do that. But
So he did that at night, and then he did the wallpaper and carpentry and stuff during the day?
all day, every day. I don't know how that a man like him, plus all the other things he'd done, have a big garden, work it by hand, and
The rabbits and
huh?
and plus his rabbits and his bread and
Yeah.
barber.
And chickens, sell the eggs, sell the chickens, and you heard about the rich people wanted 2 chickens for Sunday, and he'd go, they'd send the chauffeur down and says, Mrs. No, I can't think of her name now. Anyway, wants 2 chickens for Sunday. Well, he'd kill the chickens and pick the feathers, you know, and all like that, and do a good job, you know, and have there when the butler came, butler, chauffeur, and all came to pick them up. You know, one day Daddy forgot, and he knocked on the door and wanted the chickens, and Mom didn't know anything about it, and Mom says, well, Orville must have forgot, but there's the chickens, you want to go pick 2 out, you know. So here he is with his chauffeur uniform and hat on, you know, and he went in, the chicken coop was there, and the big yard was fenced in with a wire over the top so they couldn't fly out. And he went in there, and he got one of the chickens in one hand, and he went to get the second chicken, and he slipped and fell right in all that chicken
Oh,
dirt. Fell right on back.
that's terrible.
Yeah, but even Mom used to tell that story, and sometimes she even giggle a little bit and thinks it's funny. But anyway, yeah, and sell chickens and rabbits, and and do everything, you know. And then, did you hear about him sleeping in the shed? No. Kenneth was the oldest, and he was, as far as I remember, he was a good person and all, but he kind of didn't agree with my father, and like young kids do, you know, disagree with your parents, you know. But Daddy working so hard and all like that, and he didn't want to see any bread go to waste or anything. And Irma and Edith and I don't know the rest of them, but they take the crust off the bread, they didn't want it, and then leave it there. And Daddy used to tell them, you know, that crust is meant to be eaten, you know, and eat it. And then they found out that if they tuck it under the plate a little bit, nobody's seen it for a while, you know. So and Daddy hollered about that, you know, and then first thing I remember, and I was pretty young, Kenneth told the girls, or agreed with the girls, that they didn't have to eat it, you know, and Daddy said something about, I'm the father here, you know, and Ma used to say it for a long time, something, as much as I loved her and all like that, I used to get mad, because it took me years and years to get smart enough to know what she meant. She said something, I forgot it now, but something about, well, Kenneth, I guess you have to give in to the weakest wine, you know. And I didn't understand it, but she meant Daddy's wine was weaker than his or something like that, you know. When I got old enough to understand it, I disagreed agreed with it, you know, but I didn't ever have words with her or anything, but I always wondered how a person could say that, you know, about their husband, you know. But yeah, I guess you'll have to give in to the weakest wine. So then it got so bad Daddy couldn't take it. He's going to live out in the shed. And it was that's what it was, a shed, just a wooden building. And I don't know what was in there to start with, but it was about from that wall maybe over to here, and from that wall up to maybe the end of the couch. And that's how big it was.
Wow.
And he moved out there, and he had a little bed. Like this was the shed here. And he had a bed over here, and he had it looked like an office desk, like here. Had a little drawer in front and drawers down the side. And that's what he used for a kitchen, for a table, and kept his little couple of dishes he had. And then over here he had a heating stove, kerosene. Had to fill it up every night. And then there wasn't much over here. We had a kerosene stove that you had a light, and it stinks like kerosene. Then a little stove, they call it a Dutch oven, that sat on top of that kerosene stove that for baking. And then over here he had a little place for his clothes. And that's all he had. And by the door here, and by the door.
So he wouldn't even go into the house to eat and stuff? He would just eat out there by himself?
Cook for himself, washed his clothes and everything.
Wow.
And he had a little wash basin there. In fact, wasn't recently. Where'd Debbie go?
She's on the phone.
It was recently. Debbie said she remembers when Betty and I first got married, that little washstand was in our house where we moved, Betty and I moved into, and it brought back memories. But anyway, you stand there, sponge bath, you know, And yeah, he didn't leave the heat on, so when he come home, like from 4 to 12 or something like that, and freezing weather, he'd be freezing in here, and then you had to light that kerosene stove over here and, to get it warmed up, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And he had a tough life, I'll tell you. And but
He
when,
never moved back in?
no.
Wow.
Yeah, when they moved up to the farm,
Oh.
not in Spotswood, but Merle and I's always getting away with something that he was a good cook. He'd make everything, you know, like he'd make a macaroni and cheese, and you walk in there and boy, it would smell so good, and he'd say, go in the house and get a dish and a spoon, or, you know, and I was all right. Mom didn't catch me, and if she caught me, she'd take it away from me.
Aww.
And saying, I don't want you eating out there. She said, you eat out there, you're going to get catarrh. Well, catarrh, I heard later on, some kind of breathing disease or something, you know what I mean? And then I had to watch and wait and watch her till she, sooner or later, she had to do something. She'd go away. I grabbed the dish and the spoon and go out there anyway, you know. And yeah, he was a real good cook, especially for what he had to cook with, you know. And then he bought, I didn't know it then, but as you grow up, you get a little bit of smarts. And he would buy oranges and bananas and apples and stuff like that. Not mainly for him, but for Merlin and I. Well, on the side of that shed, there's a 2-car garage, not next to one another, behind each other. And the 2 cars are 2 Model ATs, you know, this old car. And the one by his bedroom there, he had to take the screen off and put the screen on the side and open the window, and that was pretty high, so I had to grab a hold of Merle and like around the legs like that and pick her up so she'd be up by the window there, and then she'd crawl in the window and fall on his bed, and then she'd go in and unlock the door. In the meantime, she'd straighten up inside, and I'd put the window down and put the screen back on, you know. Then I'd go in and get whatever we wanted, you know. And I didn't really know then, but now I know Daddy was buying this stuff for Merlin and I, you know. So
You weren't tricking anyone.
Huh?
You weren't fooling anyone.
No.
Yeah.
But he would say something, just kind of, I don't know, to let me know that he knows, or let me know that it was okay that we're doing it, you know. He says, oh, I could have sworn I had so many bananas there. Come home like that night and come in, there's 2 bananas missing. So, and I don't remember what we did with the peeling. We might have thrown the peeling right in his garbage, you know. And same with apples and oranges like that, you know. Mom never bought them for in the house, you know. And he'd go on a nice day and sit on the well, where the well was, sit on the concrete there and wash his clothes. And I guess he must have used cold water, you know. And yeah, and I don't know how many hours he ever got to sleep, you know, but they didn't always get along. I guess no husband and wife always get along, but he would oversleep, so he found out by getting a big, like a flashlight battery, but they used to come real big ones, you know. He got a couple of them and some wire, and our door to go out of the house, the wooden door, but behind this door, he had this thing set up and a button, and it was a last bus from South River to come by, and Ma used to call it the 11 o'clock bus, and she said, well, there goes the 11 o'clock bus, and my father would be working all day, tired, and lay down to go to sleep to go to work, you know, at 11 o'clock, or I guess it was 11, but anyway, he wanted her just to press that button, and he had a button, and if woke him up, he pressed the button and said, thank you, you know, or okay. And some reason, I just never understood why she would, you say, Mom, there's 11 o'clock bus, you know, gonna wake Daddy up, and some days she would, or some nights she wouldn't, she wouldn't, you know. But,
Just gonna slip by here. That's okay. So, did your dad have many siblings, and did you know his parents?
no, because I was born so late. And I remember Daddy's father, somewhere down by Old Bridge, they supposed to have had a big farm, but it was mostly sand, you know, not real rich sand, you know, but anyway, it was a farm, and they had horses and everything else, and that they, well, the story I heard just by listening to people talk, that there was a fire. He was doing something over there in the farm, and the barn got on fire, and somebody hollered, he got his attention, and he ran to the barn, and he let the animals out, and then he was getting out. Before he got out, a beam fell on his head over here and burnt his side of his face here, and his whole ear was almost burned off. And in those days, it wasn't doctors all over, you know, and the doctor was in South Amboy, which was miles and miles away. So somebody rode down on South Amboy a horse, and he finally got the doctor to come up, and he looked at it, and he's doing, like I say, they wasn't talking to me, I just hear them talking to somebody else, saying about that they had to get eggs and boil lots and lots and lots of eggs, and I don't know, soft boiled or hard boiled, but take the shell off. Between the egg and the shell, there's a little skin like
Membrane, yeah.
Yeah, and get that, and either eat the egg or throw it away, but anyway, and get that and keep it, the ear, a whole ear wet with that stuff, and it would heal up. And it finally did, but he didn't have much left, you know. But I never met him, and that was Grandpa and Grandma. I don't remember anything about Daddy's mom, but Ma's mother, she lived with Uncle Paul, and Uncle Paul built a house in Old Bridge, and he was pretty talented too, you know.
And your mother helped to raise him, right? Paul?
Yeah. But that's one of the agreements that she would marry Daddy if Daddy would take Paul and Aunt Florence, 2 kids, and otherwise she could have had a rich man, you know. So, and when Grandma Stone got real bad, and she was living with Paul in a Spanish type house, made to look like a Spanish house, and every morning Daddy had to take Ma and Merlin and I down to Old Bridge to take care of Grandma, clean her up and whatever else had to be done. She had, whatever they call it, cancer of rectum, you know. And I don't know if there's more to it, to that story about, but anyway, she finally died, and I remember going to her funeral, first one I ever went to, you know, and it was, but also then when she got real bad, she of course had seen me and maybe hugged me and carried me and loved me when I was real small, you know, but now, I don't know, 6, 7 years old or something, and Ma come downstairs and says, Grandma was right on top of those stairs in the bed and wants to talk to you and see me, you know. Well, how people's minds work. I know Merlin, I don't know where she was that day, but it was me that Grandma wanted to see, you know. It don't make any difference, but I got telling this story to somebody, and Merlin says, yeah, I remember. He wasn't there. Oh, yes, I was, you know. So she listened to my story, and that, after a while, it got to be her story. You know?
Right.
And but when I went up there, and here she was, all old lady, wrinkled up, you know, the covers around her neck like that. And I remember she said, hello, sweetheart, you know, and I got talking to her. She asked, I must have been 5 or more. She asked about school and all like that. And I was silly, but I was scared of her, you know what I mean? Oh, like that. So when she finally says, she knew too, I mean, being old don't take everything away from you. She knew that, living all those years, you know, she knew that I was scared, you know. So she finally said, okay, sweetheart, you go downstairs now. Down those steps. I was actually scared of the old lady, you know. I'm glad she didn't say, give me a kiss. But telling that story to somebody over years later, it turned into Merlin's story, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't finish the candy bar story.
Hmm?
You didn't finish the candy bar story. You
Oh.
told me that $25 check, and then you get the...
We get 10 cents and running down South River, all the way down to the last road to the right, and in there, and there was I don't know what else they ever sold. It was the only thing I ever wanted to buy. But as you walk in, door here, and that wall over there had just full of candy, you know. And it was, I mean, a lot of candy. And I guess it must have been a candy store, you know. But anyway, you get 3 bars for a dime. I mean, these were big bars, you know. And I picked the one I wanted, she picked the one she wanted, and then the other one we had to share, you know. And I feel sorry for her in a way, but she'd say she wanted a so-and-so. And I said, oh no, I said, you know so-and-so in school? Yeah. Well, he had one of them the other day and said that they're awful, you know. So, I always got to pick the third one out, and I said, no, so-and-so's on it. These are really good, you know. Okay. So she agreed with me. So I'm picking mine in the middle one, and she picked hers. But, I mean, they were big bars, too, not the little ones, you know. And so anyway, that was about the limit of our candy.
No, then you have to share that middle one.
Yeah, oh, that's another thing. I'm almost starting to feel sorry for her.
You were pretty bad.
Yeah. See, I break it in half deliberately, one taller than the other, you know, like that. She said, that's not fair. I said, what's not fair? She said, that one's bigger than that one. I bite it off. I said, now they're the same. She said, okay.
Now, how old were you when you say that you guys were, just able to go and get candy and all by yourself?
Oh, I don't know age, but young. I mean, it was a different world.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think about, like, that you were probably a very small child when you were able to do and go, and it was safe to do that. And, like, now, you can't let your kids out of your sight even,
Right, yeah. Daddy, he drank beer, especially on payday when he's cashing his check, and Mom would go to the food store, and Daddy and I'd go in the beer store. But there's only certain beer joints he could take me in, for whatever he found out, and he'd say, he wanted to go in this particular one, and he says, I can't take you in this one, never told me why. So he said, but you stand right here, I'll only be a minute, I'll just grab a beer and come right out. And so I'm waiting there, and some big kid, way bigger, he come over, he said he's going to beat me up. Well, I knew he could, if he did, he wanted to, and I was really afraid, like that. And just as he got braver and braver, he was making a fist and like this and everything. And just as he was ready to swing at me, Daddy opened the door. My father, he knew what was going on, when he saw it. He said, get out of here, kid. Why you can, I don't know, something like, why you still can or something like that. Kid took off. Yeah, some beer joints you go in and get a sarsaparilla or a ginger ale, cold draft beer,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys have like an ice box or anything like that to keep things cold at all, or?
Not way back. And finally, somebody, I don't know how they got it, but they did get an ice box, and it was I don't know if you ever seen an antique ice box. And they're like metal lined, most of them, and one section is where you put the ice, and there's like 2 doors usually, and as the ice melts, it never really got real cold. You couldn't freeze anything, but
Right.
and there's a pan. There's a little door on the bottom. You had to pick the door. There's a pan under there to catch the water. And somehow that became my job. I suppose with Kenneth and Melvin's and the rest of them at one time. But it come my turn, that I was the one that has to empty that pan, and didn't always have ice, Either Daddy wasn't home to go get it, and we go down Old Bridge at the red light, and there's a gas station there, and Roy Boyce was the helper at that, I forget the name of it, the people owned it, and Roy worked there pumping gas and chopping ice and all like that for people, and there was a girl there, I forget her name now, she's a little older than I was, and she liked me, and she kind of let me know, and so Daddy and I, knew Roy before Eleanor did. This is years, and Daddy said, oh, give me I don't remember, like a quarter's worth, That's a big chunk of ice, and Roy would, weigh it out, and then old cars, the front, the hood went like this down, and when you want to look at the motor, you can pick this side up. The ice box had a pan underneath it, and because of the age, I guess it got my age to empty it. And Mom would say, Herb, I wish you'd empty that the ice pan, you know. I said, okay, Mom. A while later, she said, Herb, I think you better empty the ice pan. Okay, Ma. Another half hour or something. The ice pan needs emptying pretty bad. Okay, Ma. So funny. She, wherever I was or something, she'd go get one of her switches like that and whack behind your back of your legs, and she'd whack in. Sometimes she'd get enough time to whack 2 or 3 times, you know. Well, I knew where to run to the ice pan, and I'd pull it out and spill it all over me and everything and empty it, you know.
Oh, you were saying about the car, though.
Oh,
about
the
going
car.
to get the ice.
Yeah, the hood of a car years ago went like that. And if you want to look at this side of the motor, you pick this door up. You want to look over here, you pick this one up, you know. And between this hood and the fender came out here, you know. And there was a V like there, and he set the ice there. But there was so much heat from the motor, a lot of it would melt. So then later, the back bumper, they were just metal bumpers, and like they only came out in the end again, a little bumper here, a little bumper there, and he set the ice on that bumper, and then by the time you get home, maybe it only melted down in there a little bit, you know. And but that ice box, it was, like I say, it never got real cold, you know. But and then I don't know where they got the refrigerator from. And the refrigerator had one ice tray, and you could only make one at a time, you know. But at least it got cold, you know.
Yeah.
But and then Walls finally got a washing machine down the street from us. Is a kid. He was, I don't know, a young kid, but he was big, you know. And I forgot his name now, but Bob, where she got the money, I don't know, but she ordered a Sears Roebuck's washing machine, and she got, oh, that was Alfred Donnelly. Yeah, old lady Donnelly's son, Alfred, and got Alfred Donnelly to come up there and put it together for her, you know. And I suppose you've seen them like 2 rollers, and you take your clothes after they're washed or rinsed, you put them in between these 2 rollers, and as it goes through, squeeze the juice back out into the tub, you know. Well, on the other side, always reached and took them out for Ma, you know, and shook them a little bit and put them where she told me to, and before she hung them up. And I always wanted to get the clothes out of the water and put them in there, you know. No, it's too dangerous, it's too dangerous. Well, please, I know I could do it, you know. And one day she gave in, got tired of getting pestered, and I did it pretty good first couple times, got him in there, and there it went right on through and get another piece like that. And about the 3rd piece, I had my fingers the wrong way, to caught my fingers in one hand, and it took it up to here.
Ooh.
And they were pretty tight, you know, and there's a button on top like that. All you gotta do is hit that button and it releases it. So after she got way up to there, and she hit the button and it stopped it, and they took me to doctors, and I guess he wouldn't see if they had broken bones, you know. And he'll be all right.
You didn't want to do that anymore, I bet.
I don't remember if I did it. I think once was enough.
Yeah.
But Yeah, before that, all she had is you ever see a washboard? Yeah, it's, so big and bumpy. And she'd take the yellow soap, she put the clothes there, put some soap on it, and rub like that, and to her knuckles would bleed, And yeah, life wasn't easy in those days.
What did your mother enjoy, like, outside of doing for the kids and stuff? I think I remember hearing that she liked to read and that she enjoyed poetry and stuff. Is that right?
Read in what?
Poetry?
Poetry. Oh, she could write nice poetry. So could Uncle Paul. Yeah, I don't know where it all got to, but there was stuff here at one time about things that Paul wrote, And yeah, Mom, she read anything. She's like Liddy. One time I said something about to Betty about the transmission. I got to get it fixed, like that. And I said about the transmission's doing this, doing that. Liddy's in the back. She didn't get in the back too often. She rode up in the front, but she said, well, Herb, did you check so-and-so? I said, what? Did you check the so-and-so in that transmission? I said, I don't know. She said, well, I said, she told me what I should check. I said, how do you know anything about transmissions? One day, there's nothing to read. There was a book there about transmissions, so I read it,
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, she read it.
Read a manual if she needs to.
Yeah, so, and Ma loved to read too. In fact, there's certain things that got me through the 8th grade, even though I had to stay back 3 years, and book report, what they are, I guess, if they still have them.
Sure.
And you had to read a book and then tell about it, Well, I mean, it's all about being blessed. I'd pick out a book, and read what little tiny bit I could make out, but it wasn't enough to make a report on. And I'd say, Mom, would you read this book to me? And she'd love to do it, that she would. And so finally she'd sit down and, come on, and I'd go over there, and I usually got on my knees and laid my body on her lap, and she'd read that book to me. And then after she read it, for a few more, would you please write it out, and I'll rewrite it, And she used to have a saying, something about only being able to do so much. She don't think she'd get time to do it and all like that, but finally she'd write the book report for me, And then I'd sit there and copy it, And there's things like that, and well, I stayed back 3 times, and they were already talking about if I stayed back again, they'd give me the janitor's job, because the janitor was getting ready to retire.
Oh.
So I was going to get the janitor's job.
So how did you end up, did you graduate, or you went to vocational school, right?
Well, I graduated.
And then vocational school?
Books here somewhere. I didn't get rid of them. Yeah, graduation. But in them days, everything we wore, or most anybody wore, was from somebody else's, from a different graduation, pants, shirt, and the whole work, So, yeah, I graduated, but going through school, that only what helped me through was all the teachers liked me. I got along great with the teachers,
I must wonder if you have like dyslexia or something like that, as far as reading being a challenge, that
No.
if you went to school now, as a young person that maybe they would have been able to help you more than they knew how to back then, you know?
Yeah, Debbie knows more about it, you know.
Yeah.
But even yet, though, if I'm looking at a telephone number and I'm going to write it down, you know, to keep it, and I can look at it there and write it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's dyslexia.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Did Debbie bring out your other pills?
Huh?
Did Debbie bring out your other pills?
Not yet. I
Yeah.
don't think. I don't know. She gave me.
I'll check.
She gave me the restless leg ones.
Before you tell me about vocational school, tell me about all the pets you had as a boy.
Pets,
It's 10 o'clock.
everything. What's that for?
This is for your.
No, I mean that.
She said it's 10
I said
o'clock.
it's 10 o'clock.
Huh?
I told her it was 10 o'clock.
Hmm.
That's the blood pressure and Claritin.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Pets, I had anything I could run faster than they could. She on the phone?
Yeah, no, she's Skyping with Mark.
Hmm?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, talking to Mark.
Hmm. She, first pet I remember was Aunt Sadie, not Aunt Sadie. And my batteries are running low. Anyway, one of the richer aunts lived in Milltown, and she had a nice new car, and she was taking Mom and I and Merle somewhere, and I'm in the back, and the tire came right off the wheel and went right up in front of us, you know.
Oh my goodness.
And when it came on, the back of the car went down just a little bit, you know. And I looked out, and when almost said her name, when she saw it, she said, "Man, I think that's the tire right there," she said. So finally, it stopped, and we pulled over. She got somebody to put it back on, but anyway, it'll come to me maybe in a minute. But and Al was my aunt. It was through, I think it was through Daddy's side. I don't know, but anyway, she had money, and in Spotswood where we lived, there was a. Do you remember Spotswood where the Esso was?
Mm-mm.
You remember the Esso?
Uh-huh.
Well, that property where the Esso was, it was well, quite higher than the road, and I'm almost certain name again, but anyway, I guess she owned it, or somebody in the family owned it, and she told Ma that if she got Orville to take her over to Milltown, he could have the deed for that property, you know. And it was a pretty big piece of property. And Ma says to Daddy that anyway, that she said,
Annette?
no, that was the Ma's sister, one of Ma's sisters. Anyway, that Daddy could have that property, you know. And Ma says to Daddy, all you gotta do is go to Milltown and get the deed. And he said, what good is it? He says, because Daddy was making a deal with everybody else to use their land to grow a garden, you know. And she said, for a garden. He said, well, I forget the the guy's name lived next door. Daddy said he'd pick it and eat it faster than you could grow it. I mean, steal it, you know. So he never went over and got it. So then finally somebody bought it and put an Esso station there. And it drives me crazy when I can't think of it. But anyway, she was, in those days, it wasn't any Orlando or anything. You know, everybody went to Florida, went to Miami. And she was going to Miami, and I'm sure she wouldn't be driving, it must have been a train. And she says, Herb, is there anything you could think of that you would like to have from there? I said, yeah, an alligator. So, she says, okay, I'll look into it, you know.
Unbelievable.
Huh?
It's just so crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how long it was, a week later or something, anyway, I got a package from Miami addressed to me, you know. Probably the first piece of mail I ever got in my life, and Ollie. Yeah, Ollie, that's what her name was. And I opened it up, and it was unwrapped, and it was a cigar box. And I opened the cigar box, and it was an alligator. It scared me. And he just fit in the cigar box. What I always never forgot was, I don't know how long it took in those days with a train, you know how many days, but it didn't even poop the whole time. that cigar box was clean, you know. So anyway, I started raising it. It went from a little box and bigger box, you know, and I was afraid.
What did you feed it?
Huh?
What'd you feed it?
What or where?
What?
What? Anything I could. Mostly, or a lot of them, was flies. You know, I ate a lot of flies, and I hid them. Some was dead, some wasn't, you know, and put them in there, and he'd eat them. And then anything Mom got to cook, I always stole a little piece of that, you know, chopped meat or anything like that. And he went from fit inside of a cigar box to about that big, almost 2 foot long. And man, he had a big jaw on him, you know. Daddy made a pen for him out of wood, and it's pretty big, and put a wire over it, and I had to keep him in there.
What'd you do with them in the wintertime?
I don't know. I don't really know if she got rid of him before winter or not, but she kept hollering, it's going to bite me, you know. And I didn't pick it up or anything because I was afraid of it. And without proof, I still think, as honest as she was and all like that, I think she deliberately let him over the railroad tracks. There was a little pond there, you know, and I think she put him in that pond. But
Probably because she was afraid you were going to hurt you.
huh?
Probably because she was afraid you were going to get hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, you could only eat one finger at a time. But anyway, I come home one day and always check that box, and the brick was off. I had a brick on it. The brick was off, and the wire was up. The alligator was going. Never seen him. But anyway, that was my alligator one, and then I mean, anything I could catch, I'd keep, you know. And somebody gave me a white rat, and it was big. I mean, I haven't had that in a long time, you know. And he crawled under my shirt and everything else, you know. I wasn't afraid of it. And,
Aren't they neat?
huh?
I had a rat, and I thought it was a really neat pet. I thought it was really smart and
Yeah.
neat.
So they never bit me, but one time he got loose, and without proof, I think somebody let it loose, you know. And I looked and hollered and yelled and searched for it, and Daddy said, well, if it got loose, as many rats as we had, you know, we had chickens and all kinds of animals, and you always had rats, you know. And Daddy says, keep watching under the chicken coop, because I know there's a lot of rats under there, wild ones, you know. And I sat out there for hours just to watch, see if you see a wild rat come out, you know, and just chase it, and hoping that white one would come out. So after I don't know how many days, sure enough, here comes that white rat out like that. And I don't know how it was in heat or anything like that, but it would let me get so close and then it would run underneath again, you know. So finally, after I don't know how long, I got a hold of it. Once I got a hold of it, I put it back in its box, you know. But yeah, I wasn't afraid of it at all. And another pet I had was my goat. I was up to Englishtown sailing, and the guy had a little baby goat. I mean, it was a little tiny thing, and I wanted it, and I forgot what was it. Like the guy wanted something like $3 or something like that, and Mom shaking her head no, and Daddy says, well, it wasn't hurt or something like that, and then finally we got in the car to come home, and I think my father wanted me to have it, you know, and he says, to make Mom feel good, I guess, he says, all right, he said, I'll say okay, but you gotta, I'll give you $1, and you go back and tell that man if you could buy it for $1, I could have it, you know.
Wow.
So I remember a real big man, and I went back with this $1, and I, what do you want, kid? I said, my father said that I could have that goat if you sell it for $1, you know. And he looked at the $1, looked at the goat, looked at the $1, and he grabbed the $. Go ahead and take it, you know. So he had a piece of rope one day, used to tie up bales of hay, you know, and around his neck. And I tried to pull it, you know, goats are stubborn, you know. They put their feet in the ground like that and they don't want to move, you know, or else they'll jump and take off. But he didn't want to go. And then all the older people were starting to laugh at me, you know. I said, come on, I'm pulling, you know. And when they started laughing at me, it made me mad. So I went over and I just scooped him up like that and carried him to the car. And in our house, when you went in the front door, there was a banister there and a pair of stairs where you go upstairs. And on the banister there, Ma had bought a big flower pot like that to put there, to put a flower in. And she had just bought it. And she says, it couldn't come in the car. I said, well, how are we going to get home? She said, I could have it if I held it there, so if it pooped, it's going to poop in that flower pot. So we finally got home with it, and it grew fast. I mean, they had fixed it, you know, whatever you call it.
Castrated?
Yeah, castrated it, and he got real big, and always causing trouble. He
Can't imagine.
huh?
I said I can't imagine. A
No.
goat always causing trouble.
Somebody be sitting in a chair like this in the living room, and the window's right there, and they'd look up and scream or holler. Here's the goat out there wanting to jump in, come inside. And I don't think that the goat had enough brains to know that was glass there, you know. Even though he would look, he'd turn his head this way and this way like that, and go over to the chair, get up and run away. So he never jumped through the glass or anything, you know. But he got real big, and I had him tied on a chain, and Ma saved all kinds of scraps, because he got chickens and everything else, and nothing went to waste. And she keep things that she knew the goat would eat and like, and the dishpan like, and she'd we'd go out to put the goat in it. I had a little barn for it, and put the goat in the barn, and she'd take the dishpan and when I'm going down to get the goat, way down by the railroad track, and to let the goat take the chain off, and it was a chain, you couldn't pull it real fast, and this one night I went to, instead of, Ma had a dishpan full of goodies, and instead of pulling the stake up with the chain, make it pull the chain up there, that I unhooked it by the neck, and it went like lightning up there. Saw them all with that dishpan like that, and he'd always raise up, his hind legs, and like this, and then look at you, and then come down and boom, hit you, and he hit that dishpan, and I don't know how many times, but broke Ma's pinky, and made a mess out of the dishpan, and she always wanted to get rid of it, but finally it got pretty good size, and Daddy, he's another guy he could do anything. He got a pair of wheels, and he made a little cart for me, and he of course had horses all his life, when Kenneth was little, they used to have a horse, and Daddy would grow all these vegetables, and Kenneth and Daddy would go all the way to South Amboy selling vegetables and stuff. And so anyway, Daddy knew how to make a harness for it. He even made the bit for his mouth, and little by little put it on, and of course the goat didn't like it, but he had a fit, but I was big enough to, at that time, to control him, and hook him up and unhook him, put the harness on, take it off, and all like that. So finally I got to where he got used to it, and as long as I harnessed him and hooked him up and held his head like that, I could walk him around like that. But every time I would want to get in the seat so he could pull me, he'd go crazy, he'd run away or lay down or do something else.
So were you ever successful?
No, but no, he got lockjaw.
Aww.
Yeah, and I still don't know what lockjaw is, but it's when their jaws get locked,
I think it's like tetanus.
Huh?
Isn't it a form of tetanus?
I don't know, but he couldn't open his mouth. I remember Daddy taking two pieces of wire through his mouth like that, and pulling wire like that, all his strength, and he couldn't open his mouth,
Yeah.
So John and Edith just started going together, and Daddy didn't want to do it. I mean, Daddy had guns, shot everything, but he didn't want to shoot the goat, so John shot the goat for me.
Now, what about the when the minister came over?
Oh, the minister. See, I know the name and I try to say it, but as soon as I want to say it, then I don't know it. But yeah, anyway, with all Ma had to do and to clean it and everything else, the dining room table was as big as that one, and got it there when it's open, and the only thing it was used for is put clean clothes on. She washed the clothes and got them on a line, and she got time to get them off the line because it was rain or something, she'd get them as far as the dining room table, and that's as far as they got. So if you wanted a clean shirt, you had to look through this big mountain of clothes, and everybody did it, you know. They never got put up in the bureau drawers, and they, the only thing about it, Ma's cat was in there too. And you start looking for something special, and you're looking for it, and you think you see a little piece of it, you know, and you put your hand in there to get it, the cat would get you. And yes, she called it. When I was a kid, I didn't know what the word meant or anything, but the only thing was the cat's name, Mariah. But it's a word in a name in the Bible now. And so anyway, yeah, when the minister was going to come, all the clothes had to be put in the bureau drawers or put away, you know. And this one time, Corman, I think his name was, Reverend Corman, and Ma had everything ready for him, and she, only time we had butter, you know, real butter, was when somebody like that was coming or something. And the only time we had toilet papers when somebody was coming, you know. And anyway, the table's all set, and I went to go in the house, and that darn old coat squeezed in, you know, before I could keep it out. And as soon as he saw the table, he jumped right up in the middle of the table, and that's when he seen that butter dish, and he started licking the butter. I got spanked over that one, and I had to run up to Polanski's and buy a quarter of a pound of butter real fast before the minister got there.
Didn't you have a raccoon or something too?
Raccoon? Oh, skunks.
Skunk, that's what it was.
Yeah. Down, the neighbors down there, Artie Tinkle, he had 2 mulberry trees, great big ones, you know, and when they're ripe, they fall on the ground, and skunks come up and eat them, you know. And they, one day, I seen this little baby skunk down there, real baby, just born, I guess, and was eating, and I went home and said, Daddy, could I have him, you know? And Daddy said, well, if there's one skunk, there's got to be more there, and there's got to be a mother, so be careful, you know. So I went down to get that one skunk, and I got him, or her, and then there was, anyway, I finally wound up with 4 of them, 3 or 4, and they, Edith and John has just started going together, you know, at that time, and John was taking a course for taxidermist, yeah, and through paper, you know, and Daddy says you can't keep her with a snake all the time, you know. And John says, I can fix that. And Daddy says, what? He says, where her tail is back there, you just look on each side of their tail, there's in the field in there, there's a little ball in there, like a bag. That's their stink bags. John says, all you gotta do is cut them out. And he went to the book, was reading in the book, you know, and I think they called it chloroform, that they put people and animals to sleep. But you gotta be careful, don't give them too much, you put them to sleep for good, you know.
Right.
So John got everything ready and put the skunk in a sleeve of an old shirt like this, you know, and it's just the back end sticking out, and I'm holding them, and John put them to sleep. You can tell when he goes to sleep, his not wiggling and all. And John pulled the skin back on each side like a little ball would stick up, you know, and he took a razor blade, just cut it a little bit, and it popped up there, and he cut it off. And if I remember right, he had to put a stitch in each side there, you know, and he did, I think, 3 of them, and one died right away, I guess, too much chloroform, and then it was 2, and Ma said I could keep one, but can't have 2, so she gave one away to somebody, and I kept the other one, and it got real big, you know, and I'd carry it around with me. Then I got Daddy or somebody got a collar for me, and I, with a leash, and I'd walk around all over, you know, so that people see it was a skunk, and they'd run away, you know. But even with those bags cut out, you could smell a little odor to it. It was not one you'd want to let it come in the house, you know. And,
Was it nice?
Huh?
Was it friendly at all?
Oh yeah, I could hold it and pet him and carry it, you know.
Huh.
And then all of a sudden, I couldn't find him. And so it went that way for a while. Daddy would come home from work and say, I think I seen your skunk last night, you know. Like he always took a lunch. When he was eating, the skunks found out that there's a different watchman over there eating all the time, and they throw out whatever they want, you know. And then Daddy even takes some for the skunk, you know. And I said, oh, bring him home, bring him home. He says, you come get him if you want me. He said, I'm not sure if it's him or not.
I don't want to pick up the wrong skunk.
Yeah, but he was real friendly, so anyway, that was skunk story.
So how did you get started with Ted Bennett and the ponies?
Well, I liked his daughter to start with, Thelma. You ever meet Thelma? She was my age, and of course, she was my age until I stayed back and she kept going. And we were, I think it was the first year I went to school, and say 5 years old, and she invited me to her house for her birthday party. Well, it wasn't rich, but Ted had a General Electric store before the war, selling refrigerators and everything, and sold kind of Margaret their first refrigerator, and they had a little bit of money, you know. So Talma says to come to her birthday party. Must have been a Saturday, and I said, okay, well, I just forgot about it, you know. And the day of the party, Mary Bennett came down with their nice new car and wanted to know, because I was up in a tree, and you know, and I saw Mary park there and we'll go into the house to talk to Ma, you know, and she said about, is Herb around? She said, yeah, somewhere. And she said, probably find him up in a tree. So then they came out and hollering for me, you know. And you know how kids are, the way I was, dirty all the time, you know, dirty clothes and everything. And Mary said, how come you're not to the party? And I said, what party? She said, it's Salma's birthday party. And she told me she invited you, you know. And so then when, so anyway, I was down and dirty, and Ma said, Mary Bennett wanted to take me up to her house, you know, and he can't go that dirty, you know, clothes and everything. She said, oh, go and get
Greg.
a set of clothes for me, and she'd wash me. And she took me into the house, in the kitchen, and told everybody, nobody can come in this door, you know, stay out, stay in the,
They really wanted you there.
yeah. And, yeah, I think Thelma always liked me, it still does, you know, but, yeah, she took my clothes off, stripped me, gave me a bath. I never had a bath in my life that I remember.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Ma would, you know, wash me up a little bit like that. Well, she did the same thing Ma would do. I mean, standing up in the kitchen, and we washed in the kitchen a lot too. But we put clean clothes on me and open the doors. Okay, everybody, you want to come in? And also, then there was a program on radio. Uncle Dan, I think his name was, Uncle somebody, and he talked, and in those days, he wrote to him, he would announce on the radio that it's Thelma Bennett's, whatever it was, 5th birthday party today, you know, and they're having a party, and talking to Thelma, and we're all listening to that, her birthday present is in Judy's manger. And all bunch of us ran down the steps and went in the barn where Judy was. Not Judy. Beauty, and looked in her manger there. There was the birthday present was in there, you know. And yeah, that was my first birthday present or party, you know.
What was the present?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
She opened it, but whatever. Wasn't for me. But yeah, growing up, Tom and I liked each other, and she, I guess it's not too nasty to put on this tape, but my mother never told me any of us anything about girls, you know, and I guess Mary must not told Thelma, you know, so everything I found out about anything about sex, I'd tell her, and if she found something, she'd tell me, you know, and to hear us talk sometimes, you'd swear we was, you know, having sex ourselves, you know, and then we played a game that, like a kissing game, and Thelma found out that if, well, in the yard there, she found out if she went by the door, the kitchen door, or the door goes in the house, and puts her number up, whatever, you get the right number, you get to kiss her, you know, and she put her number up so I could see her number, whatever it was, you know. And we got along all right, and I'd be teasing her sometime, you know, and was I lived with him up in the attic for a while too, you know, and
How old were you?
oh, we were getting old then, you know, and
Were you working for Ted at that time, or?
oh yeah, I worked for Ted since I don't know how old, you know, 7 years, 8 years old or something, you know. And
Just with the ponies, or?
no, anything he had to do, you know. And one time I used to tease her and all like that, and she was, she always said I was her brother she never had.
No.
And she went in the bedroom, and I went in the bedroom, and Thelma's on, Mama, help me. Mary Bennett said, you're old enough to take care of yourself, you know. So finally didn't do anything, you know, but then, I don't know why I didn't stay longer, but anyway, I came out, you know, and then she came out, but anyway, when one time she had a boyfriend from South River, and I don't know if it was in high school or not, and I was sleeping, and Ted had a shed that was like from an army shed. It was green, and I lived in that for a while, and she knew I was sleeping in there, you know, when his boyfriend got rough with her, and she came in where I was, you know, and she was scared, and so she says, Ted and Mary was gone, and she didn't want to stay out in that shed, so she said, would I come in and stay in the house with her, you know, so then, I won't want to say his name, anyway, he was my age, you know, like that, you know, but I wasn't afraid of him, you know, and I said, well, if he broke in or something like that, I was willing to fight him, you know, and anyway, he was howling, crying that I love you, and this and that, and all like that, and he's waiting for the bus to come to go home, and she was really scared of him. I don't know what all he did, you know, but after that they broke up, you know. But
Dad, did you get your blood pressure pill?
yeah,
Right out here? You got it?
you know what you gave me?
She gave me.
She did.
Oh, okay.
I get the cheese mixed up.
So, vocational school, and then the Army?
Yeah, I went to vocational school, and at that time, if you went,
They told me we gotta finish tomorrow.
hmm?
Mom just said we have to finish tomorrow.
Hmm.
I better listen to my mother.